Well, the plum blossom is fully out, the 6th of April. It's a glorious day, a bit of chill in the wind. Lots of insects. Which is nice. It means we might get a good crop of plums. And the first of the cowslips. And there's a lovely white fritillary. A small tortoiseshell there on the dandelions. That's a sad sight. It's a very small hedgehog, so we've been hibernating. And it's probably starved to death. It's been very dry for weeks. There's no worms, very little insect life about. Oh, it might have been dehydration. Oh, whatever it is, it's still very sad. And the rhubarb is making its appearance. Should really cover it up and force some. I've got a load in the freezer from last year, so I'll just leave it. And these daffodils, when they start off yellow, have turned into a wonderful creamy colour. Droning bumblebee behind me. And lots of lily of the valley appearing in the lawn. It's creeping under the lawn from the border. Mountains on the moon. Amazing orange colour. These are the grape hyacinths. They take over everywhere. If you let them, they seed all over the place. But they do put on a lovely show at this time of year. There's a honeybee. Just got a little white lip on the end of the flower. A little bell. Well, blossom is finished on the gages and the plums. Now this tree suffers particularly badly from aphids, which spoils the crop every year. You know, people talk about, you know, ladybirds and lacewings and all that eat aphids. Well, this just becomes infested with them. So this year I'm going to spray it. the pond's pump's given up the ghost. I can't really complain. I've had it about 5 years, if not more. Which time it's doubled in price. But when I first moved in here, before I sorted out the garden, knowing where this pond was going to be, I put a drain pipe in, and it runs across to the shed. So when I replace this pump, I've just got to push that wire up the drain pipe, and the actual electrical connections are inside the shed. And I collect the water off the shed roof into this water butt, and then using this hose, which I've removed for the moment while I replace the pump, I run that hose down the other end of the drain pipe. You can see the pump wire coming out there. It goes up into the shed. So the water from the shed roof eventually ends up in the pond. And you can see the cowslips coming up by the zillion. They seed everywhere. Unfortunately, they tend to seed where they're not wanted in the rest of the lawn, and it's a bit sad, but you have to cut them. I just have to cut them when I cut the grass, chop them off. They're a beautiful flower, especially when you get great swathes of them. And every year this one comes up. I don't know where it's come from, but it is very pretty. Oh, lovely flower that. And the first of the asparagus has appeared. Just this one plant, the rest of nothing showing on the others. I'll have to cut them off, otherwise they'll become too tough to eat. Well, they're a tasty morsel. Some there'll be more than you can keep up with. Of course, April is the month of the dandelion. They put on a wonderful display. That orange centre. Yep, see what you like about them. You don't want them in your lawn, but in the wild they put on this absolutely glorious show. And when you look at them closely, you can see they vary a lot. And that's very different to the earlier ones. And pollen beetles on it. And this is white dead nettle, which seems to be favoured by this particular group of bees. See if we can get it on. Works its way around the flowers. You can see there the flowers are sort of rings around the plant. And they too have a special arrangement for pollinating. I might just take one in and we'll have a look at it. There's a great bank of them here. They're just a weed. That's a nice display. You see there, they all go around they're all in a circle around each leaf node. When a bee comes onto a flower, it just goes round the circle. When you look into each flower from underneath, you see these 4 little black bits. They're the male parts, they're the stamens, they produce the pollen. So there you can see the stamens. When the bee comes into flower, they bang it on the back of its thorax, and leave pollen there. As it pushes into the flower, any pollen it's got from other plants lands on this little forky bit, which is the stigma. And the style leads all the way down here to the eggs in the ovary. And there are lots of different plants in this family, and they all have that same structure. And this is one of the young lime trees which I bought last year. There are 4 of them. Just coming out, and they will eventually be moved into the woodland. These sort of lovely lime green leaves and that, and those red scales round the buds. Yeah. They'll make a fine tree in about 50 years' time. Well, no sooner is the blossom coming to an end and the first signs of aphids, these leaves curling up. Another one there. The aphids are sort of protected inside. You can see them there. This leaf I've just unfurled. So I'm going to have to spray the tree with insecticide. Otherwise it'll just end up decimated like last year. I may have to spray it twice, but it definitely needs spraying now. The best time to spray is on a calm, warm evening, or very early morning, but evening is better. And I just drench the thing. And of course, read the instructions on the side of the insecticide bottle very carefully. I mean, the crucial thing is to stand upwind when you spray, otherwise you're not breathing the blooming stuff in. The same on this green gauge, it needs spraying as well. This is the conference pear tree, which is in full blossom. And obviously you can't spray it when it's like this, otherwise it kills all the pollinating insects. So that'll have to wait for a while. Wonderful creamy blossom on this bay tree. It smells like bay leaves. Doesn't really smell of anything. But this year's produced an absolute profusion of blossom. There, amazing. And rosemary in flower, attracts lots of insects. Well, a new pump has arrived. It's the same as the old one, although twice the price. I was happy with it. Well, it must have lasted 4 or 5 years, which is very good because it's on continuously, and the pond isn't exactly clean. Anyway, that's the job of the day, is to replace this pump. So I've taken the plug off at the other end, which is in the shed. And I've got to pull the cable down through this drain pipe, which is under the lawn, which I explained earlier. That's the first job. So you can see there, they come with a long length of cable, these, which is absolutely ideal. Being able to lead it into the shed, I'm not messing about with sort of waterproof connections outside. So that's what we get. The pump with its sort of coarse filter around it. The bits for attaching the fountainy bits. The fountainy bits themselves, different types of fountain you can have with it. The problem with fountains is on small ponds is that if it's windy, the water gets blown up onto the garden or onto the lawn, and before you know it, your pond's empty and your pump's whirring away in fresh air, which is not very good. So I don't have a fountain on this. I just wanted to circulate the water around the pond and feed water up into this little bird bath bit. So now I need to get that cable back up through that drain pipe over there. The other thing to notice with the pump is it comes without a plug, which for me is ideal. I'll fit a plug in the shed when I've threaded it through the hole in the bottom. It's probably a skill not many people have these days, because most appliances come with a sort of moulded plug built in, which you can't do anything about. Well, you can chop it off and rewire it with an ordinary plug, especially because sometimes they come with a Euro plug and you have to buy a British Euro adapter, which is an additional expense. But for me, I'm just going to put a British plug on this. So there you can see the length of the cable. All the way down to that hedge and a little bit more. So I've taped the pump main supply to the end of this hose pipe with this gaffer tape, and all I've got to do now is shove it up this drain pipe till it gets to the other end by the shed. Take the tape off and feed the cable through the hole in the floor and put the plug on at the far end, and hopefully this will go straight up this drain pipe without any problem. Well, that was pretty straightforward.
Take the tape off, shove it through this hole in the shed. Well, that's it all wired up. The cable clamp is tight, all the screws are tight, just got to put the cover on, plug it in, set up the pump, and away we go. I forgot to mention, you can't run it on a 2-pin plug, it has to be an earth. Well, it's in and wired up. Let's go and switch it on. And it's working. So I just need to adjust there are 2 outlets on this, one to the pond and one goes to this little bird thing up here. So I just need to open that up and see if anything appears in the little bird bath. Well, the birds will be delighted. We haven't had any rain here for about 5 weeks. And the birds keep coming and having a look. There's nothing there. Anyway, no doubt they'll show up very quickly. Well, that's very pleasing. Another job done. Well, the pump is working. All that remains to do is to put the water butt overflow down this pipe so that when it rains the water goes into the pond.